Hey everyone, it's Barbara the Raspberry Stitcher. I am here for a special edition episode for the Jessie Watson Autism SAL number 5. It's been a bit since I've done one of these. I have been keeping you updated on Instagram, but I thought I would just pop in and do a short video on the SAL. I've had some more people ask about it. I've also had people ask if I'm going to do another one next year. So we'll get into that in a minute, but I just want to go over the SAL first. Today is actually Sunday, the 14th of November. Cannot believe it's November, cannot believe it's the 14th, and basically less than 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving. If you know anything about me, I do work in retail, so it is a super, super busy time. I have been putting in lots of extra hours at work, and I know there are other stitchers who are like me who work in retail, and this is a very stressful, long month, 2 months for Christmas. Anyway, I digressed. Let's move on. So this is Jessie Watson. It is by Hands Across the Sea, and she is beautiful. I was drawn to this sampler, and it reminded me of my son and autism, mostly because of this beautiful heart right here, the multicolors, the fact that it kind of resembled or reminded me of some autism puzzle piece hearts that I have seen in the community. So I just was really drawn to it. I was drawn to the home setting, the nice brick home. It just felt very comforting to me, and I loved the beautiful colors. So I ended up breaking it down and starting in April, because April is Autism Awareness Month. It is also my son's birthday, who has autism. He turns 19 this year, and so next year he turns 20. And the reason I wanted to do this also was just to kind of commemorate him going into kind of adulthood, out of teenager years. And I talked to him about this, let him know what I'm thinking, and just kind of giving him that boost of mommy's doing something for him to commemorate his kind of adulthood, and giving him more responsibility and thought process into, I am becoming an adult, not just a child, of my parents, which for my son is a little difficult. He definitely social emotionally is at a very younger age than his chronological years. So it's just kind of like a visible physical reminder of where he's at. So this is how I broke it down. So this was April, May, June, July, August, September was all of this, October, and then November is the actual Jessie Watson, although I'm changing mine to put our family surnames here. So I will go into that in a second. But then 9 would be December. I tried to make these a little smaller because November and December are busy months for me, and I know I can't get all that done. And then January, February, and then this would be March, but I'm also continuing that, and I'm actually going to finish this whole thing in April on his birthday, the 11th. So I actually won't totally finish. I want to put the last few stitches in on his birthday to commemorate that. And I think it'll be great. So there's that. I have had a couple of Facebook group, kind of like similar to Zoom meetups. I'm hoping to have another one. It probably will not be until after Thanksgiving. Hopefully in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'd like to try to set one up, maybe in January. After that, it may not be till right in April. I am having an elective surgery, which will put me out of commission for a couple months. So I won't probably be able to get on as easily. It just kind of depends on how my recovery goes. But that is the plan so far, if you're wanting to be a part of that. So, and I will have some dates coming out. I will put them on my Instagram. So follow me at Raspberry Stitcher on Instagram. I chose to do the conversion from Vicki Clayton Silks, and these are the beautiful colors that she had for the conversion. They're very, very, very pretty. I am loving how every color has turned out. I think it's very beautiful. It has some of the deeper palette that's in there from the border, but all of these pale lights, which is very beautiful. So those are the colors. And then I'm going to show you where I am at with the sampler. I'm probably going to hold it up against some of this paper. So, because my fabric is 46 count baby sheep by XG. And here is where I'm at. You can see I finished last month. I put all of our initials in there, which I talked about, and his name. Got the crown, the bunnies, the tree, and now I'm going to put in the name in here. So I'm going to do our last name, which is Renault, my maiden name, which is Wheeler. What may happen, though, is I may have to fill in with some other things. It's a little more letters than the original Jessie Watson. So I think I'm going to have to do a little bit of either stretching the letters. I have looked in the resource book for some different lettering. I have actually, I'm going to show the whole thing, so I'll show the chart. But I've kind of started to write over the chart a little bit. So like for the R, but I will say I'm having a little bit of difficulty figuring it out, but I will get there. Hopefully by the end of the month, at least knowing what I'm going to do. Just because when I look at that, the Renault, because of the way the letters are formed, are probably going to be a little longer than the Jessie part. And the W in Watson is very large. I'm probably going to have to squeeze that together to get some more to be able to put Wheeler in down here. So it's just going to take a little finagling, let's say, to get all of that in. It looks like there's enough space, but they're fatter letters than what I'm going to have room for. So, because I think I have to do, I have it in here. Oh, 13. They have 12. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but I have 2 N's. If you look at the N in Watson, that's a pretty wide letter. They have an I. I do have 3 E's. They're a little wider. So it's just, and obviously there's a little space that I can move and get closer to the W, but it's an H, so I can't get too close because you've got that stem. So I just need to work on it a little bit and try to get that in. I definitely want to do that. If I have to shorten the letters to make them smaller, I may put some type of band in here. I may mimic one of the bands up here that might fit, or something similar, use it from the book, and just put a band below here so there's not just a ton of white space. Because if my capital letters, I can't make them that tall because of trying to fit everything in and using a different font, then that's what I'll do. So it is a very small sampler on the 46 count. So I think it's about, this is, I'm using regular paper here. So that's 8.5, and I've got plenty of room on each side. So I think it's about a 5-inch width, probably about, let me look here, not even, probably 7 inches, maybe 6.5 long. So it's a very small sampler on this size. It's a very doable sampler to be split up in months and add in to your rotation or do the little sections each month. I think the longest section would have been doing this whole border in 1 month. But you could have split it up, like done this section, and when you did this, did the bottom, and when I have next month, you could have come up and done that. So you could have split it up too. Nobody has to do it exactly as I divide it up. I did it based on what I knew would be a little easier for me. Because of working in retail, some months are just a lot more difficult. Late October is kind of difficult. We do a lot of hiring. We're still doing hiring. early November. The last week I just finished was very difficult because I had to do the schedule for Black Friday. So that takes up a lot of time on top of I was still doing a lot of hiring because I do a lot of the orientations when I can. So it was just, I was super busy, super, super busy. But that is where I'm at. And so hopefully we'll just get that. Oops, I'm upside down. We'll get this done. And then we can move on to December will be the bunnies and tree on this side. So very doable, very easy in a busy time of the year. And very doable if you need to catch up, like you didn't get to it. January, very easy because I've split the house in half. So you have 2 months to finish that. So I think it's pretty easy. And this isn't, it's pretty full coverage, but actually those bricks are every other. So it's the fabric showing through behind there. I'm almost positive on the house. So it's not solid stitching, but it's like an every two. So it's not, and even the roof is actually the same way. So it's not full coverage on this house. The only thing that is, I think, is the door. So it's not as bad as you think it is. Anyway, there we go. So now I'm going to move on to answering a couple of questions. So if you guys don't watch Nisi Lynn, you should be watching her. She's amazing. She's so funny. She's so personable, and I adore her. Absolutely adore her. And so a couple of people, she's doing the SAL with me, and so she's been talking about it on her Flosstube and showing her progress, and I love hers. It's definitely her, and I love the colors she's chosen because they're different, and I like seeing how it's being stitched up. I love when people personalize it and make it their own for their own taste in the way they want to do it. So that always excites me. And she is doing hers for a family member, I think a grandmother or great grandmother, I can't remember which. And so you should be watching her. But some of her Flosstube friends and who also watch me have talked about if I'm doing another one for next year. And I don't want to disappoint, but I really hadn't planned on doing it. I really hadn't thought about that. This for me was kind of like a one-time thing of moving from his childhood into more of adulthood, and also helping me to accept that he's moving into adulthood. So that's definitely something as a parent with a child with a disability or any type of, child with difficulties, whether it be mental, physical, whatever it is, it's hard to think of them as an adult because my son specifically, mental type age, emotional developmental age is more like 6-year-old sometimes. He is very plain spoken, very black and white. He does not see beyond what's right in front of him, so he can't read subtext. He doesn't understand that sort of language, whether it be written or spoken. He uses a lot of phrases that are what we call rote. So he has learned them and he just uses them in the context he thinks is appropriate. Some more appropriate than others. But that doesn't necessarily mean those are his true thoughts or feelings sometimes. He just says them. So for me, it's hard to think of him as being an adult in the typical sense. But we want him to try to start growing in that way and realizing he's got to learn to advocate for himself, talk for himself, make sure he understands that, he has to let other people help him, not just his parents, not just his family. So those are things we're trying to instill in him, especially now that he lives in a group home residential type facility. It is a home, so he has his own bedroom and they have a living room, dining room, kitchen area, but they have a staff there. And we're trying to get him to be more independent through that. and advocate for himself. So like when we go and visit and he's got one pair of pants left and you're wondering, did you wear those yesterday? Because do you have any clean ones? It's not because the staff don't want to help him. It's because he's not advocating for himself that, hey, I don't have any clean clothes. I need to wash my clothes. Those are the things we're trying to work with him on. Hey, I'm out of toothpaste. I'm out of whatever. Those are the types of things we want him to advocate for himself and think for himself instead of just having somebody give it to him. Same thing with, cleaning his room or doing the bedding. So teaching him that there are cues or things that he can look for to be able then to ask for help to do something, and that he needs to do those things on his own as much as possible. So knowing that when I don't have pants, I need to wash my clothes today because I won't have any tomorrow. So those types of things. And it's definitely harder to do those when you have your child at home sometimes, I think, personally, because you just want to do for them. And that's not necessarily beneficial to them in the long run, because someday I won't be here to do those things for him. And he's going to have to use his voice to get those things done for himself and be able to take care of himself the way I would want him to be taken care of. Unfortunately, you can't always rely on other people to do that for him, and he won't be able to rely on other people always to do that for them. Unfortunately, in this world, not everybody thinks the way you do about your child and how you would want them to be cared for. That's the reality, and I need to prepare him and myself for that reality. So it is very hard. It is very emotional, but it is very necessary to work towards that. And that's why I did that this year. Kind of celebrating the fact that he is becoming an adult at 20. He's leaving the teenage years and becoming a young man, and trying to teach him what those things mean and are. We go over them a lot with him every time we visit him. We just visited him yesterday, and it was fantastic. Even though it was cold, we went for a walk, and we talked about how his day was. He has started school back up an hour a day, which is fantastic. It's over Zoom, but he's doing it, and he's tolerating it and doing his work pretty well. And I'm very happy about that, because it's been over 2 years that he's been able to do any real schoolwork. So we're not looking for him to really learn a whole lot of new things, but just get back into making sure he's retained some of the things he does know, making sure he can sit and actually do work for an hour and not get upset and throw a fit or a tantrum, and tolerate doing what we call non-preferred tasks. So schoolwork is a non-preferred task. Listening to his country music is very preferred, or just hanging out and sleeping is very preferred. So trying to get him to do all of those things and take ownership of those things. So wrapping up with that, and that was a long segue, I do not have plans next year to do another one. It's not to say that it couldn't pop up. It's not to say that something doesn't just move me in that way. But this piece moved me, and to think about that. I am a very emotional stitcher. I have a connection with pieces. So I don't want to just pick something to do it to have a SAL. I want it to be a connection that I have with that piece for that reason. And at this point, I haven't seen that piece or found that piece. I had a previous piece, which I'm going to pull and show you, which I think I have shown before. I did this one and saw it, and it really touched my heart and made me feel and think of my son. So this is by Lindy Stitches. A Mother's Heart is what it's called. I do believe you can get it as a download on her website. I stitched this on, I think, a 32 Lugana, maybe. With most of the called for, the lettering I did darken a little, but I think I used the right blue here, but I know the flowers and all that I did. And I believe it was pretty much the called for color. It was a pale blue overdyed, like this. I did the finishing. I got the finishing kit. So I have the back on the back, and I used Vanna's tutorial to do the ruching. This took a lot of time. I will tell you, it's a beautiful end product. Absolutely gorgeous, but you do tack down in between each piece of ruching, so that is a lot of handwork to do. I did accidentally, when I was doing, she gives you a template. Lindy said Stephanie Webb gives you a template for the heart. I got it a little off-centered, but it kind of worked out because I started and ended here and just took my ribbon and put this bow here. So I kind of set it like this, so the bow just kind of dangles. But I think it turned out really beautifully. If you know anything about our story, my son is a very loving boy, but when he started to have go through puberty around 15, it got very physical within our house, and so it was very difficult. And he is a big boy. I mean, not giant, but he's now 5'10", taller than me, bigger than me, and he was having a lot of anxiety issues. And through the anxiety, he would just want to run and leave our house or jump out of our car. He jumped out of our 2-story window. So he was just not being safe, and it was a very difficult time. So this really rang true to me at that time in our lives and our journey. So that's why I stitched it. Put that back. So this time, the whole Jessie Watson is really for me about the love and that I have. That's why I want to do that heart. It also is about home and hopefully eventually bringing him home or making a home for him that he can be safe in and happy and enjoy life. That's my goal. And sometimes that could be with us, and sometimes it may be near us, to make sure that he is striving to be the best person he can be. Every parent wants their child to grow up and be happy and healthy and independent. And that's what we want for him, to be as independent as he can be. We know he may most likely never be fully independent, but he can do multiple things, and he has great ability to do more than he's doing now. So we would like to see that happen for him and to bring him closer to home. I mean, at some point we would like to have him closer to us. Right now he is a 2-hour drive away and one way. And so it takes a full day to go see him. And we spend a couple hours with him, and then we drive back. On our way back, I stop and see my mom. And so it's a good, probably 8-hour day, 9-hour day, sometimes 10, depending on how long we stay at each place. So, and traffic. We've gotten a few times where traffic was, I think it took us 3 to 4 hours to drive home one day. It was awful. But I hope everyone understands why I'm not doing another one next year at this point. I don't want to do it just to do it. I don't want to pick something and not really feel that connection or the reason why I'm doing it. I will say that autism is a part of my life because my son has autism. So in everything I do, and the things I try to think of and how I go about things is definitely about inclusion and about being as aware as I can be. I mean, I won't say I'm the most aware person about everything, by no means, but I also do believe, and one reason I say this is we should all just be kind. Try to think about where somebody else is coming from. Sometimes you have no idea. There are a lot of people that I work with have no idea some of the things I'm dealing with inside or emotionally. And, I don't know everything about them either. Same thing when you meet somebody or pass somebody in a restaurant or a grocery store or driving, you just don't know. So I try to be as kind as I can be. Not perfect. I can say I get upset at times. I get a little angry at times, but I try to pull myself back and think, okay, what's going on with them? I'm not saying what they do is right, but I'm trying to give some compassion and some understanding. And that's really what I wanted to get out of doing this year, was explaining to people to be compassionate, be understanding, and think about things maybe a little bit differently. I don't think enough people understand a family's or an individual's, a parent's view and how they, the things they have to deal with day to day and month to month and year to year, and that our norm is a little different than your norm. So that's all. I hope you all enjoy this. We still have a few months left to go, and I hope you're all in for the fun ride. I will say, like I said, I would like to do a couple more videos and hopefully a couple of meetups be through December and January. I might be a little bit out of a commission in February. I'm hoping to regain some ability in March. I won't talk about what's going on right now, but you'll probably hear about it later. But and then, of course, wrapping everything up at the end of March if you want to, or I'm going to end on April 11th with the heart. I'll be working on the heart through the end of March probably. I knew I wouldn't be stitching a whole lot at the beginning of February or the end of March, and it's not really solidified yet, but I'm hoping that's how it's going to work out. And anyway, I hope you really have enjoyed this. I hope you have gained some understanding and some compassion through this, and let's just keep going. And I hope you're not too disappointed that I don't plan to do one next year. I do have some great plans for next year. So if you all like smalls, I'm going to be doing a video in December about my plans for January and the coming year. So I'm very excited about that. And I hope you'll join me and see what I'm going to do. And maybe you want to do some with me. Who knows, right? All right. Bye, guys.